some of these lineups and kind of react to what we saw last night. Josh, I will say to set the stage for people, we were in a torrential downpour.
We were.
They were literally drafting
in the elements.
But they might have got a little wet, but the team did get drafted.
I mean, puddles here. Let's say canvas is full of water there. But these guys are unfazed. Like people asked, how's it going in the tent? Tension with a knife. It was unreal seeing the best of the best draft all together just for George Pickens to be inactive on Sunday morning.
Nez, you participated last year. You saw these teams rolling in. What were some of your kind of thoughts about how the draft shook out?
It looked like there was a lot more people with headphones. I noticed a lot more people dialed in. A lot of people just kind of vibing in their own zone. I was sort of a lone wolf in that last year. But like Josh said, tensions were just so thick. You could tell it was very intense. A lot of FOMO, seeing that in real time. That environment is so cool. I'm glad everybody got to experience that. And yeah, it was intense. It was intense.
John, did the participants scroll down enough to your liking?
I mean, Josh Oliver was selected, so yes, it tickled all my fancies with those moves. Yeah.
Pete, before we get started, just want to shout out the people behind the scenes.
Yes.
Kristen, Berm, Oaks. Obviously, got Dean, got Aaron, got everyone else. Thank you so much for everything. Again, elements, downpour. Who would have thought December in Dallas we get the most rain in, I don't know, a decade, but everyone's helping out, and I can't wait to see what happens today.
Yeah, no, and again, these guys, Dean, Aaron, should be at the venue here. They stayed back to help us produce this stream here before lock. So thank you guys, much appreciated here. I say we pull up the first draft board. Obviously we're not going to be able to get to every specific team that was drafted.
How dare we?
But to show you guys here, draft board number 1. And again, if you guys aren't familiar with how this tournament was shaking out, every qualifier received 3 specific drafts.
Right, Nez?
Yeah. Do you remember?
Wow. This year. That's what
I do.
This year, yes.
And we did have a few participants who won multiple seats. There were 2 drafters, Drap and Lee, aka Chad Maschke, who had 3 seats, aka 9 drafts, which resulted in some interesting kind of portfolio management by them. But we got the first draft here pulled up. What kind of jumped out to you guys in general from these drafts?
In general, that they mirrored what we did all season long with pushing quarterback to the end. It was like, go get your guys early if you wanted the Hurts and Allen stuff. Outside of that, man, we saw like Tua, who was QB3 on the week, fall to round 5. We saw Baker, who was QB4 on the week, fall to round 5 one time. So it really was like playing chicken with the room of fill your flex and then push quarterback as far as you can. And I respect that. I mean, that's how I would have gone about it. So I thought there was some really sharp drafting on display. There was nothing egregious, nothing, out of line. I thought it was very sharp overall.
Yeah, just the general point for me is 4 picks in round 1. You get the 2 tight ends and the 2 running backs, right? You get Trey McBride, you get Brock Bowers, probably in reverse order. And obviously it's Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. And you would hope that those can be your anchors. And if they are in scoring, I don't know, 12, 15 points, especially the tight end, maybe more than the tight end 5, tight end 6, tight end 7 on the week, just gives you a natural advantage versus everything else. And that being consistent throughout the entire day just made so much sense.
One thing I mentioned to Nez last night, and I do agree the late round quarterback held true, but they went just slightly earlier because if you look at the Dog Bowl qualifier, everyone would just wait till round 6. And last night they're like, you know what? Let me lock up that stack in round 5. Maybe I can push it to round 6.
That was really funny to watch. Everybody just a little less comfortable waiting. And there was just that whole row of purple in a lot of these boards you'll see in round 5. Very funny. I thought it was very interesting. Everybody played very tight. And by that, I mean, I don't know, maybe the first couple draft boards really had influence on the rest of these, but the James Conner going as early as he did, I didn't quite expect him to see him go that early. I mean, it's just the difference between these and the goal line stands are just, it's night and day. It's like you're playing a different contest. So the James Conner early pick, like every single time people just adhered to that, I just thought was pretty interesting. People sort of, played tight to the projections.
There was also one like real-time wrinkle in terms of like the running back dynamic that shifted was we got that Bucky Irving change from a Q tag to a P tag in the middle of the drafts. So like the 4th draft or whatever, all of a sudden like Bucky was at the back end, and you were kind of having like the Sharps versus Bucky debate in like that 20th pick range. And then all of a sudden, Bucky was like fringe first round, early second over and over again in the last couple. These drafts actually not completely in order. Like draft board 1 wasn't actually draft 1 there. So we're seeing Bucky pushed up in this one. But yeah, it was just an interesting little wrinkle to the contest.
Yeah, and there was the other kind of news thing. Obviously, we got the Kenneth Walker news before the drafts, but still there's a lag in the ADP. And the kind of the dynamics you were talking about with people playing tight, there's basically 3 ways that you kind of approach it. And I think the best drafters are incorporating all of these. There's your ranks, who are the guys that you think, the order. There's ADP value. Can you squeeze on more of these guys onto a single roster? And then there's the go get your guys, like the guys you just want. And you're trying to blend all of those elements, right? Because if you go get your guys too much, you might be sacrificing too much. But if you also just only go by ADP value, you might have a team that you don't actually like rooting for.
I mean, I'm sure this is a conversation in cash in terms of, building your core lineup each week. And now that each person had 3 different drafts, you could have easily done that with like Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, or Caleb Williams and Cole Kmet, if you really believe like that was the duo. But if I was in their seats, there was no way, if I had 3 drafts, that I wouldn't just diversify every single player that I had. And I don't think if I would overlap a single time the same 3 players, the same 2 players, like I would just hope that the combo that I get in this one is the combo that worked. And I mean, I was going around asking everyone about that. Most of them, I would say 90%, agreed with that, unless they are the true sickos who are just like, I know it's going to happen.
Because there was one guy who didn't agree with that, and that was Dark Sheep.
Yep.
The Sheep seats went out and was like, yeah, Trey McBride over and over again.
And I love that.
Jacoby Myers over and over again. Justin Jefferson 2 times as well. So I really hope that Trey McBride finally finds the end zone for him, because all of a sudden you're going to see a clump of Dark Sheep lineups, boom, find their way to the top.
Another guy who, and I didn't get the final tally here, but just tabbing through this, draft who had 9 drafts was going heavy on Brock Bowers. Basically, anytime he was able to get Brock Bowers at a reasonable cost, he was clicking him. And it is a fun dynamic when you think of, hey, there's 9 total shares of Brock Bowers, you could corner the market. And if it's a Brock Bowers day where he goes for 25 plus, it's going to be really hard to beat his portfolio.
Yeah, he was playing that really, really sharp. He was, I could see him kind of going through his portfolio and making those micro managing decisions there. That was that was really cool to see in real time.
I got one little like nugget that I was looking at last night. I likened it to, watching over the shoulder of some of these guys was watching Gordon Ramsay cook for the first time. Like I was looking over Sam Olsen's shoulder. I was looking over Draft's shoulder, Chad's shoulder, trying to get a feel for it. And guys kept talking about VORP and how they all have access.
Define that for the people.
That's the value over like a replacement, right? And basically like value-based drafting with their own calculations over the other projections, right? So everybody had access to the same projection models because they're deep in the weeds, right? Everybody's has access to ADP, but the way in which they calculate pushing certain positions over one another is completely different. So it's funny that they all have access to the same amount of information, but then arrive at completely different conclusions. And that was a big like buzzword conversation that I was listening in on a lot last night that isn't something that we've talked a lot about this year in general.
And I think it does, like the tight ends are the best illustration of that, because we already kind of said, everyone agreed, we'll just wait on quarterback. Sure, Allen Hurts, we can deserve to take those early, but tight ends are fascinating from that perspective, because we've seen late round tight ends a lot through this season get there. There's a big opportunity cost to pass on a guy who's going to project for 20 plus touches like a James Cook for a Jonnu Smith, who, yes, he's playing, really nice football right now, but there's still a lot of risk in that. And I think it really played out on this specific slate where the top end tight ends like clearly separated. Like feels like one of the weaker tight end 7 to tight end 12 slates we've had in a long time. And it felt like no one wanted to get shut out of having access to an elite tight end ceiling.
Can we pick out some of our favorite teams?
Let's do it.
I am on draft board 5, Dean, and this all hinges on one player. I'm in the 3rd slot, Lee, 1-2, 1-5-0-3, Justin Jefferson, Zach Charbonnet, Cooper Kupp, Malik Neighbors, then close out with Caleb Williams to Cole Kmet. Obviously, this hinges on Malik Neighbors. And I can't sit here and say he's going to play 30% or he's going to play 90%. And if he plays 90%, is he going to break 1 tackle? and score a long touchdown, because with the current state of the New York Giants, it kind of has to be that way in order for them to find the end zone. But I feel like with Justin Jefferson, almost in Trey McBride territory, where we've seen this guy rack up yards, rack up receptions, not to the same degree in terms of positional value, but we haven't had that one Justin Jefferson week yet.
Right.
And why not be in week 14, and the exact same time, Zach Charbonnet on top of that. So to me, that one stands out as just picks and picks and picks that I absolutely love, along with Caleb Williams, who going on record believing he throws for the most pass attempts in his rookie season today.
It's funny because I was going to highlight one of my favorite teams is also a Caleb Williams team.
Love it.
It was Dan J in the first draft from the 5-hole. He did Brock, Isaac Guerrero, Tyreek Hill, and then set up the game stack opposite Guerrero. So saying, hey, Guerrendo's having success on the ground. All of a sudden you come back, Caleb chucking to Keenan in Roma Dunze. I just thought getting high-end talent at running back, wide receiver, and tight end there, and then filling out a logical stack to bring up.
And can we get super specific? Because to me, if Isaac Guerrero is going to have a big day, he's going to have a 30, 40, 50, 60-yard touchdown run, because he is that type of athlete, that type of speed. And that means shorter drives and maybe more and more possibilities on the opposite end of the comeback too, on the bring back.
That's a draft 9, by the way, Dean, for Dan here. What, you guys have any favorites that you ID'd?
Yeah, I think for me, I kind of dovetails off of Josh, where he loves the Justin Jefferson pick. I agree as well. When you're talking about the VORP conversation, value over replacement player conversation, I think Justin Jefferson right now is set up to explode in this game against the Falcons. There just hasn't been a lot of good game scripts for Justin Jefferson to have these monster games. And against the Falcons, where I think you can actually have Sam Darnold be able to cook a little bit more, be able to hit Justin Jefferson for some of these, quintessential Justin Jefferson receptions, that any team with Justin Jefferson on it, in my opinion, is the best, because in the second and third round, you're getting these running backs that like are the 1v1s, the 2v2s, I just think really favor toward Jefferson. So this is a draft board. Let me see. I'm looking at a Best Ball Viper team, draft board 3. Yeah. This one is awesome. So he goes Jefferson, Kittle, Najee. So of course, bias toward the Najee pick.
Here,
hey, I mean, you got to give that a little bit of bump with Pickens out.
Yeah.
So he goes with a double stack, gets Addison and Jefferson with Darnold. And then my favorite pick is the sneaky Amari Cooper 6th-round pick. Keon Coleman, game time decision, but he's missed a lot of time. He's had that wrist injury. I'm waiting for this Amari Cooper explosion game. I feel like this game went so under the radar this week. This Rams Bills game, I think, could absolutely go nuts. And the sneaky Amari Cooper there to kind of bring that all home. Shout out Viper, by the way. Day one Badge Bro fan. That team's awesome. Love that team.
Just a real quick IKB stat here. The last time Justin Jefferson played a team, I believe, top 5 in single high usage, like the Atlanta Falcons this year, was his best game of the year against the Indianapolis Colts. So
makes a lot of sense.
Some big plays on the field, one-on-one situations.
I'm hanging on to the brand here, guys. I'm going with someone who took a unique one-off in the last round.
You have to.
Who scrolled almost the furthest, not as far as Josh Oliver, but scrolled pretty far. And I want Narrative Street here. I want the single bullet in the last week. I want Keith. I want my guy Len Keith here, who from the 12-hole, Puka Nacua.
What draft number?
Give me 1 second. Let's see here. That is draft number 8.
Okay.
For the people at home. From the 12-hole, Puka Nacua and James Cook playing into that highest total game environment, little late night hammer, going to make sure you get the sweat. Then plays into another game environment in a contrarian fashion, Jawan Jennings and DeAndre Swift. Goes against those Caleb teams. No Roshan today, obviously. And then scrolls the F down. Will Levis, Chiga Konkwu, skinny stack. This is a thing of beauty, guys. I know it's not going to project the highest. This is a guy who's just straight knowing ball all over everybody else right now.
And it's fun, right? Because we did see a decent amount of Will Levis, most of it paired with Calvin Ridley, right? So to get one here with just Chig saying, hey, the success could be there. What if it doesn't go to the most obvious spot, is a pretty interesting way to play it. Also, we got to shout out the meme pick. We were talking about
my God.
last night. This is draft number 1 here. Our guy Mathology, he wanted to do it. He called his shot, the hawk to a draft from the 6-hole. And what's crazy about this, guys, absolutely hilarious, perfectly on
It's a
brand.
legit team.
It's a legit team.
It's a really good team.
It's Tyreek Hill in the second. You grab TJ Hawkinson, middle of the third, sandwich between Njoku and Kittle, perfectly fine. You come back, you get Tua stacked with Hill, and then he grabs Addison to build out the bet with that game. He has Bijan, and then finishes it off with Waddle for the double.
You can easily paint the picture, tell the story, draw up the narrative of how this, construction works in game. I mean, life must be good when you have the number one Best Ball Mania team in the world, and you just have a brain that can create these things, and it actually makes sense.
Unlimited mojo.
This guy was out at the gun range yesterday. He was in my chat this morning from a bubble bath in the hotel room. I mean, no one is maximizing this weekend more than Mathology.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of the beautiful things about like the behind the scenes of being at the Dog Bowl is we were all just sitting around long after like the actual event had finished. And we were just sitting in a circle drafting goal line stands together last night, actually each of the last 2 nights. And in a touching tribute to Mathology, I found myself in a goal line stand with him, and I made a Tua, Bijan, Hill, Hawkinson team as well. So if he takes down the Dog Bowl today,
you get a peripheral.
Boy here. Look out for your boy. I'll give him a little bit. I'll cut him off a little something from the side.
We didn't. One thing we didn't talk about a ton. We had the George Pickens news this morning. Definitely a surprise. He was getting drafted, at around ADP yesterday. Nez, he's not playing now. So for people who don't know, you're not going to take a 0 on your George Pickens. You're going to have to swap though. And this is different from a BR swap where there's the 37th available player. This is the 73rd available player. So how do you think that is going to impact some of those teams?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has access to their draft boards, thankfully. So they're going to ID, obviously, who the undrafted players are. I don't think you're going to see any Calvin Austin swaps, personally.
Okay.
I don't
Only
think
Mike Williams, you mean?
Yeah, of course. Big Mike Dub. That's why they traded for him. I think you're probably going to look at the other side of that game and probably see Elijah Moore get swapped in quite a bit. I liked him a lot. I didn't see him go in every single draft, which I was kind of surprised by given the Cleveland pass rate. No, Pickens sort of slows that game down theoretically, but I think you're going to see a lot of that other side of the game get swapped in there. It's a heck of a wrinkle right now, and you have the opportunity to get unique. Like, it's an unfortunate thing that's happening for these Pickens drafters, but you have everybody's draft boards available to you. You now have some leverage, even though you're getting a lower projection. You have leverage. You know who is not drafted. You know what combinations don't exist. You can take advantage of that.
All right, John, to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
If you are in that position, would you like to go with the high variance roller coasters types of the Nick Westbrook-Akines or the MVSs, or would you want more of the volume sponge type that, hey, if you get me 9-8 points, I'm happier with that because my other guys can explode?
Okay, I'm going to hedge a little bit in terms of answering this because I think a lot of those Pickens in the 4th round teams were actually double stacks. So there's like 2 or 3 double stacks that have Russ, Freiermuth, and Pickens. If I'm in that situation, I'm actually pulling the trigger on the Calvin Austin.
Wow.
I'm sticking with the correlation. I'm sticking with the plan, that sort of deal. Whereas in these other spots, I'd try and get to an Adam Thielen. I think he went undrafted a couple times. Went to a Mooney. I get to a Mooney. Like
what's the giggle for?
Kind of guy. Yeah, come on.
Just
Pete,
this
come
guy
on.
with his Adam Thielen stuff.
I don't know. Can you catch a football with one hand going backwards?
He tries to say it with a straight face, but it's his version of Hawk Tua is talking about Adam Thielen.
I mean, in terms of like raw projection right now, like who projects better to slide in other than Elijah Moore, Nick Westbrook-Akina, and Adam Thielen?
I mean, my sneaky suggestion for these drafters, and they're not watching this, obviously they're doing their own process right now, is I would take the shot on Keon Coleman. He's a game time decision right now.
Wow.
I keep going back to this game environment. Keon Coleman, you talk about the roller coaster type of plays, Josh, that you have available to you. And I really think Keon Coleman, man, if he does play, he just has that smash ability to just hit one for 70 and 1.
Can I throw out a totally random one? Parker Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, what we saw with Parker Washington last week, I mean, I don't know if you saw more inactives, but the Jaguars starting right tackle is out for this game as well. So we might get even more quick passes or just stuff down the field. He was actually doing wide receiver stuff last week against the Tennessee Titans. Their defense is totally banged up as well. I think Parker Washington's is somewhat interesting now.
How about this? If you had a 3 wide receiver team with Pickens and Freiermuth went undrafted, would you consider the double tight end with Freiermuth how to see. I mean, he's not going to project that much differently than some of these names we're tossing out.
I think there's only one team that has the ability to do that because Pickens was in the second or third the majority of the time and won't swap to a flex. It'll have to be wide receiver for wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting Freiermuth swap situation is Dave, who has Kincaid in the last round, and Freiermuth went undrafted in that draft. I'd do Freiermuth in that situation. But yeah.
I think Mooney's a fascinating one as well, because I'm not sure if he was selected in all 9.
Was not.
This Vikings defense, we all know it's very good, except they give up because no one wants to run on them. The most targets in the league accepted or against them, I should say. And just trying to think of how this Vikings offense is going to succeed here. We've seen the Falcons offense, the Vikings defense go against Aaron Rodgers, get him in second and long, third medium. Yeah. And then, shift to quick screens, get the ball out quickly. And for Darnell Mooney, his only 3 games that he's really exploded are against the most obvious situations. So with I can't put myself in, he smashed bad defenses and the Vikings are a bad defense, but I could paint it from they might throw the football 35 times. And if they do that, he might get 12 targets in this game.
One other kind of, big theme in this smaller contest, right, is kind of how people approach stacking. In the large dog bowl qualifier, you'd see a lot of unstacked quarterback, very viable. Felt like people really concentrated their bets. I'm looking at a board here, draft 6, where our guy Steady, grabs Kyler unstacked, but still comes back with his last pick and grabs Michael Wilson. And I think that was the theme, right? Like there were ways to stack even in either direction, getting the quarterback after or backdoor stacking. It seems like people didn't want to have, 6 one-off plays in their lineup this week.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on Friday night there, where it's like I would have leaned into the correlation angle of it, and I guess everybody kind of agreed in that regard. But when you're looking through some of these lineups, like I'm looking at Sicko Dank's teams, all 3 of them uncorrelated quarterbacks, I believe. So maybe there's a little bit of leverage for him in the opposite direction, where we were so heavily focused on like, hey, let's score points via correlation. Maybe his teams are looking pretty good juxtaposed to the field right now because they aren't the Allen one-off or the Hurts one-off that we were talking about. He was just happy to do like Baker at a fall or something like that. I believe one of them was. So I would have played the correlation angle alongside you, Pete, there. And I kind of like what our guy Steady did there with the scroll the F down, only Michael Wilson share. Why not? With the Kyler stuff. I think contrarian stacking, I think a good contrarian stack as well was people were leaning into the Jameis stuff. A couple Jameis doubles were built, but Chad did it from the 101 alongside Saquon Barkley, but did it with Elijah Moore. And I think that was a nice little wrinkle that, all the other Jameis teams were playing off of Njoku or Judy only kind of thing.
Nez, one thing I want to ask you about that we haven't really got into is how strategy was potentially impacted by the payout structure of this tournament. So we have the $200,000 up top, and I'm going to pull up just the payout structure here, 100,000 to second, third, 70,000, pretty flat. But you think about in general with correlation, right? It can often like raise your floor where it's like, say you do Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. Probably not going to get 30 burgers from both Waddle and Tyreek, but if you get the 30 from one, you could survive a 15 from the other. Do you think people like that idea of like, hey, maybe I limit my first place equity, but I have a better shot at top 10 with these double stacks?
Yeah, I think it made you have to play a little more aggressive. Last year, the cash line was really low. I think like it was just the bottom 12, I believe, missed the cash line. So you're talking 36 players. You could just play that and say, you know what, I just like to come home with something in the dog bowl. So let me just take the best projected players, come away with a little bit of cash. Now the cash line's moved way up. You have to have a much better team. Theoretically, you have the same chance considering you have 3 teams. But I would have played that toward the correlation angle where I'm shooting for ceiling. I know I'm not in this year, but I probably would have leaned towards, taking some of more concentrated shots to try to give myself, if that one player hits, let me try to build the right combination around that one singular player. And you did see that with some players in the dog bowl.
John, how much do you think that impacts it? Because even it's a flat payout structure, but still like the majority of that money is going to first and second place. Like to really realize your top end equity, those are the kind of 2 places you're looking to hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is nothing new for us on the site in general. Like, I think last year's structure was an anomaly compared to what we normally play. This kind of runs more in line with what we play every single week, right? So I think people also having 3 bullets felt way more comfortable chasing ceiling. Like we saw an MVS pick. We saw the Chig scroll down. We see some like one-offs like this. And people were just willing to take that shot because they knew they had 3 shots at said prize, right?
Yeah, Josh, what do you think? The psychology of you have 1 draft. That MVS is a really hard click, but you have 3. Oh, yeah, I'll sprinkle a little MVS here.
I mean, why not? The guy's on the ultimate heater of the season. I mean, truly, we get these start sit questions every single Sunday morning. And, you can go through all the projections. You can go through the regression models. And then you're faced with, Rome Odunze, who's had 2 games this year, versus Nick Westbrook-Akine, who scored 7 touchdowns in 8 games. And it's like, okay, are we just going to project that this guy's not going to get it this week? And then with MVS, when this offense has been good this season, it has been all healthy offensive linemen, deep play action, under center, and we're going to launch it down the field. MVS is the only one with that skill set now. And in this game, they're facing a defense that has a whole bunch of injuries. Like, to me, that absolutely has lined up here. And I understand that now MVS has scored more touchdowns with Derek Carr than he did with Patrick Mahomes, which is just crazy to say in your head over the course of 2 seasons. But, it's not like this is the final week of the season. We still have more time for regression to factor into his game.
Can we hit on a name that Josh just said there that we didn't talk about in the swaps? I didn't get to watch ETM this week because we've been hanging out here. But what about Rome as one of the swaps? He only went in 2 of the drafts, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, right? I mean, Josh kind of talked about how they're probably going to have to pass a lot in this game, projecting for a ton of pass attempts for Caleb. We're all waiting for that big Rome game, aren't we, boys? I mean, why not? Why not this week, a Dog Bowl weekend?
Well, and this where it's interesting. If you only have, say, 1 pick and share for the swap, you can kind of make a game level swap decision. You had a Garendo or a kid and you're like, I kind of want to lean into that. Then you can kind of break ties in favor of that direction, which is fun because we tossed out some viable ideas. You can maybe use what you had on your team to kind of push you in one direction or another.
I know Rome hasn't hit it all this year, but I think he might be my number 1 swap now.
Okay.
Ooh, I like
again,
it.
Think about it even more detailed. No Nick Bosa on the opposite end. Caleb will extend plays 4.5 seconds, 4 seconds. Maybe, just maybe, those open receptions of Rome down the field as being the vertical player. And this team's becoming more and more vertical down the field. Why not like the post by multiple firing breakout of Rome Odunze starting here?
the common breakout that we all know and love.
It happens every year, guys. It's very predictable.
All right, I say we do this. I say we go around the horn. We give, let's first do which player we think will be on the winning lineup.
Ooh.
And then we can also give our favorite for the contest, who we think is going to ship this $200,000 top prize. But Nez, let's start with player. Who do you think is going to be on that first place lineup?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers.
Ooh.
I think the Jacoby drafters knew what they were getting, right? You have this guy that, I just don't think really is projecting to his true ability. And when you take Jacoby, you can get him in the 3rd round, and I think he has the ability to be a top 5 wide receiver on this slate. I just think everything lines up so perfect for Jacoby Myers. He's my pick for winning Dog Bowl.
Love it, man. I'm going to go to that same game environment right there. I'm going Mike Evans. Mike Evans, the narrative's real about chasing that 1K. It's a smash spot here. Some guys got some really affordable Baker stacks alongside it. I'm going like 130 and 2 for Mike Evans being the guy you need.
I can't believe how correlated we are with our picks because I was going Baker Mayfield. Because looking at these, and we were talking about it when we were watching some of the boards. I'm looking at, let's see, what board is this here? Board 7 right now. And, he was going in the 5th round alongside guys that I thought he was a slight tier above. Like I thought, relatively speaking, he was like a 4th round pick, and he kept going late. And I just think he's the one guy that can keep up with Allen and Hurts, throwing 300 plus yards. You have all of the stacking options. Seems like we're in on this Raiders-Bucks game. You going to buck the trend, Josh?
Yes, I am.
Spice it up.
I don't know if I fully believe it, but I'm going to say it with my full chest here.
Do it.
Jalen Hurts, 1st round pick. Saquon Barkley, 101. AJ Brown, 1st round pick.
Here we go.
Guess which guy you could get in round 4? Devontae Smith.
Let's go.
Yep.
Back off of injury. Y'all must have forgot territory here.
Yeah.
There's no Dallas Goedert in this equation. Panthers also run a lot of single high stuff. When we see that Jalen Hurts and this team launches down the field, it might only need 3 quarters here, but Devontae Smith has been quiet for far too long. Some of it because of opportunity. I mean, we know this team, like Jalen Hurts averages 6 dropbacks per game since the bye week so far. That is nutty stuff. But I think maybe Devontae Smith has a chance of outscoring AJ Brown today.
Wow, I like that call. Nez and I were talking about Devontae Smith, the guy that's just kind of like flying under the radar.
Because he has a type of talent that if he gets somehow 8, 9, 10 targets, then explosive spot from the 4th round.
And I'm telling you, if you want to hop in a battle royale draft, we got 8 minutes here before lock. I'm telling you, Devontae Smith goes undrafted. He's going to be sub 10%.
I was going to say like 4%.
Yeah, he's an awesome pick.
Not you, dude. Not right now.
Check in right now. I'm gonna do some scrolling.
And let's wrap up here. Who we think is the favorite? This is tough. We know and love so many of these drafters.
I mean, they're all the best.
They're all strong.
Yeah.
Let's call some shots here, Nez. Who do you think you guys are going to be bringing on the winner's circle here soon?
I'm gonna go with a chalk pick here. I'm gonna say Drap. Drap just had some big time crusher vibes going on in his seat. I mean, I don't think he left his seat for the entirety of those draft marathons. Dude looked dialed. I'm gonna go chalk, and I'm gonna say Drap walks away with a dog bowl.
I respect it in a big way. Very talented player, has 9 bullets at this one. I'm going with my King of Kings on the site, Mount Rushmore, Sam Olsen. He's got that Najee Harris in the 2nd round there that's aging like wine with this George Pickens stuff. My heart of hearts is cheering for the scroll the F down Chigakonkwo, Will Levis team for Len Keith, but I want Sam Olsen to win because then he can stop denying all the content requests. He has to come on the show if he takes down the dog bowl.
I love it. You know who I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with our guy, Jewish McCaffrey. He's got the Scott Hansen cameo mojo propelling. If you guys haven't seen this, Josh retweeted. We all retweeted on our accounts. You can go find it on Jewish McCaffrey's Twitter. Got a full shout out to the Underdog and Deposit Kingdom communities. Jewish McCaffrey.
Rudman's legs.
Rudman's legs. Yes. He's been chasing this qualifier last year, had some near misses, got in this year, very strong drafter. And I think the mojo is on his side today.
Best Ball Viper. I mean,
yes.
Day one of day ones. I think Best Ball Viper was watching our content back when we had like 20 subscribers. He was maybe the 21st. I just got to root for the guy. He had 6 entries in this, took the first 3 under the tent, the first 3 away from everyone else, in all the noise with headphones on, geared towards computer. Rooting for everyone. I mean, it was so cool to meet all the entrants and their +1s, seeing what their lives back back home, and then
a shocking amount of women
yesterday
for the Best Ball Virgins,
and then asking the women, hey, do you have any idea what's going on? Did you sweat? And they're like, absolutely not, but can't wait to win $10,000 plus this weekend.
Can you imagine these poor +1s, right? It's like, okay, this person in my life spends so much time drafting.
Revenge of the Nerds.
All right, let's go to Dallas. Let's have this fun. And then they're stuck in the rain, watching them just draft even more. But the food was
nightmare
good,
fuel.
I was talking with Sam Olsen and his +1, his partner there, and we talked for like 2 minutes, and then she like rolled her eyes. She's like, "You guys are made for each other." I guess we're on his screen a lot, like for breakfast. She said so. She's very familiar with us, John.
That's so good. I respect it. One thing with the Best Ball Viper, if we're just going aura, juju, mojo, he walks in, he gets another seat right off the hop, and then he's in the very first draft, and he rolls the 101. Everything's coming up Best Ball Viper right now, so that's the aura pick.
Coming in with the no strip brought a tears to my eyes. I just want to say,
that was the best.
Yeah, and the guy brought Nez a gift for his future child, newborn. There.
Got me a Pittsburgh Pirates onesie. He just the man, the absolute man.
Is there a video or a photo of him up on social? Because someone compared him to looking like Jason Mantzoukas from the league, and now I can't unsee it. So if you guys don't know who we're talking about with Viper, just picture Rafi from the league. It's a near dead ringer.
With some sweet ink.
All right, so here's the deal. We are going to head over to the venue to sweat these games out. We got locked here in 24 minutes. Yeah, I think you got like a couple more minutes to get some of your Underdog
get your swaps in.
But do we know the plan as far as a live leaderboard sweat? I heard something might be in the works. Have we heard any updates on that?
Under promise, over deliver, Pete.
Okay.
Yeah.
No leaderboard. Wink, wink. No, we'll follow us on Twitter. We'll have some content throughout the day.
I'll be
And,
posting a whole bunch of clips, I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure something is going to be cooked up on a stream for sure. Otherwise, we'll be at the event and be recapping it as well tomorrow. Are you guys going to do a stream tomorrow? Have you guys figured out your plan?
Probably not tomorrow, but we'll talk through it. But probably not tomorrow. We'll probably do like a winner circle when we're back with a little more time
Pete,
on like Wednesday or something.
Quick announcement. I know a couple weeks ago we had a retirement that shook the fantasy football landscape.
Yeah.
A certain someone is coming out of retirement for a wrap-up show tonight on our channel, and Sam Sherman.
Oh wow!
So
3-week retirement.
yeah.
Brett Favre of fantasy analyst.
T. Higgins puts up the most efficient season of all time, and all of a sudden Sam's coming out of retirement. Why is that?
There you go. Thank you again to everyone helping us out here, Dean, Aaron, everyone behind the scenes. We are off to the venue. Good luck to everyone in the Dog Bowl, everyone on Underdog. We'll see you guys soon.
I'm on the clock.
There you go.